Yeah, thank you very much, Tim, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. If we move forward a couple of slides, and the next one. Yeah, great. Look, for those of you who don't know, we're a 23-year-old company. We listed about 7 years ago, and we've been focused on, as Tim said, helping businesses understand consumers better. Why do they want to understand consumers better? Because it increases revenue, either winning from competitors or growing their own share of wallet within existing clients. How do we do that? The majority of what we do is we provide over 2 million people around the world for online digital surveys. It's actually a big market. It's a global insights market of over $100 billion US. And the uses of this data, on the left-hand side, we use it for market research, and on the right-hand side for digital advertising and for more accurate activation. So that's fundamentally what we do. Next slide, please, Tim. So we've had a clear focus since I joined about 3 years ago now, the business. Number one, be global. Let's execute what we do in Australia around the world. Totally transferable. Number two is ensure we've got the right technology, internal use, client facing, and we grow the SaaS element of our technology as well, increasing that margin so we get margin expansion. And then finally, focus on the two areas we're famous for, which is insights world and the activation world, the advertising world. Thank you, Tim. Three-stage approach. Stage one was to do the restructure of the business. We did that between about August and December of 2020, then moved on to stage two. Stage two is we're currently in optimizing the business, ensure we're investing in our technology, in our people, in our structures, and in the same time, actually growing as well. And then we move to stage three, which begins at the financial year 24 beginning, which is to leverage all of that investment that we've made and ensure that we really accelerate the growth element as well as the margin expansion level. Thank you, Tim. Where did we do this? It's actually out of date. We just opened our 10th office in Indonesia last Monday, a week ago Monday. We got nearly 800 clients around the world. We've got about a 94% repeat revenue from clients. And the important measure at the bottom here, we've currently got about $10.6 million in annuity revenue. That's up over 40% year over year as we see that SaaS revenue start to increase across the business. Next slide, please. So why are we focused on being a global company? Well, we're focused on being a global company because the UK is 14 times bigger than the Australian market, and the US is 40 times bigger than the Australian market. And as I said earlier, completely transferable skills and expertise in those two markets. Thank you. So as a business, we grew 19% in the first half year over year. So that highlights we're a growth business. Our EBITDA was slightly down, but that was totally budgeted and planned because we made additional investment in Q4 of last financial year. And we'll see that up when we look at the complete year. On this slide, you can see growth in insights. That's across APAC and across the UK, as well as the SaaS business grew 11%. I want to highlight the data and insights in the UK and EU space. That's up 45% year over year, nearly double the Asia Pacific business. And that's great because that's where we've been putting the investment, so we can see the return on investment paying off. So that's fantastic. And Pure Amplify Media, our advertising arm, is actually down 25% year over year. And partly we closed the UK element of that business, so the actual Australian business is down 14%. But that highlights that there are economic headwinds within the advertising space, and there has been a widely reported decline in the advertising markets in Australia and around the world. So highlight data and insights and the growth in the outside of Australia. Next slide, please, Tim. In January, we've seen the same momentum continue. We've seen 16% year over year. Again, Data and Insights UK EU growing at 47%, where we've seen that investment, 27% in SaaS. And also, again, we see that continued decline in the advertising space. Fortunately for us, only makes up about 5% of our total revenue. And we're certainly keeping an eye on macroeconomics here in Australia. UK, US, certainly softer markets than we're seeing here in Australia. We're fortunate, again, really low market share in those two markets, hence why we're seeing such a growth year over year, but it's something to keep an eye on. Next slide, Tim. Why are we bullish as a company? Because actually the strategy has been working for the last 3 years. We've roughly doubled revenue, we've doubled EBITDA, we've doubled our margin expansion as well. So everything that we have been doing has worked, and strategy working over the last 3 years. Next slide, please. We also see the statutory losses decline. So whilst we've been cash flow positive, operating cash flow positive throughout this period, in addition, the statutory losses are declining, and there's a focus on us being NPAT positive in financial year 24, and we see that clearly happening from this graph. Next slide, thanks, Tim. Key thing is we've kept our guidance for the year that we gave at our AGM in November, keeping that focus again on positive operating cash flow. In addition to that, being prudent around the macroeconomic trends that we're seeing, and then we're being prudent around our investments that we're making at the moment. Could be hiring, could be expenses, etc., to ensure that we deliver our guidance for financial year 24 and are ahead of any macroeconomic downturn that we see in Australia. Next slide, Tim. Key brands that we work with, lots that you recognize, as I said earlier, ASX, 20% of the ASX 200 uses us. We're a very trusted pair of hands in the space. Next slide, please, Tim. If we look forward, as I said, key elements here, maintaining our guidance, ensuring that we finish the year strong in 23 to give us that continued momentum in 24. Next slide, Tim. From this slide, key focus on international expansion continues with this special delivery through partnerships in the US market. We will see that start to evolve in 24, some deliver in 24, but then really in 25 will be the US partnerships that we're got coming off at the moment. We'll really see coming through in the organization's numbers and leveraging that investment we've already made. Next slide, thank you, Tim. So in summary, moving towards profitability, focusing absolutely on that EBITDA growth, margin expansion, leveraging the investment that we've been made, continued positive operating cash flow. We certainly don't want to do any raises to keep the lights on, and that growth that we've seen doubling over the last 3 years, we've done within existing cash flow. So we don't need to be a growth company and raise money to be a growth company. Really highly loyal employees and customers, 94% repeat, and that focus really now on that global expansion, way beyond that 45%, etc., that we're seeing at the moment. And so with that, I will hand back to Tim. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Martin. You touched on your loyal customer base with around 90% of revenue coming from repeat clients. How do you maintain that?
Yeah, that in itself is a presentation. Fundamentally, clients buy from people. And so what we ensure is, number one, we have the absolute right people in operations, in customer satisfaction, in commercial elements, so that they're adding proactive support, delivering the highest quality of everything that we do, and that clients want to keep working with us and keep coming back to us. Coupled with that is we've got a couple of unique products that stand us apart from the competitors. And that number one, I can keep hearing from clients is the highest possible quality. And why that's so important in our space, a client might run a project, let's say is $50,000 with us. They might run it through our SaaS solutions, or they might run it as a managed service. On the back of that, that organization could be making million-dollar decisions on the findings. They absolutely need a safe pair of hands, delivering quality insights that they can make the right decisions for the business.
And Martin, also there's another question here. Could you please explain the growing importance of access to first-party data for brands and advertisers, and how Pureprofile helps clients achieve this?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, going back to Cambridge Analytica with Facebook, if you all remember that, a couple of US elections ago now, there is a complete focus on privacy, how our data is used as consumers, as people that go around the internet. In the last 2 years, 90% of the data that's available in the world was actually created. So you've got exponential growth in the data available. If you use Apple devices, 94% of people opted out of privacy in Apple. It's an absolute focus. Companies getting fined, GDPR, etc. Everything we do is permission-based. So we've got the permission of the individuals to either gather their data that is used for insights or to conduct surveys, etc. So we absolutely love privacy. Stronger the privacy, the less that opportunity is to use data outside. You have to use permission-based data from a company like Pureprofile. So really focus on that as a business. Everything is opt-in, everything is permission-based.
And there's a question here around senior management remuneration. It's quite high relative to revenue. Is management staying in place, and as revenues grow, that'll become a decreasing cost? Is that the argument there?
Yeah, I'm not sure remuneration is particularly high for our space compared to the revenue that we have as a business. However, the team that I assembled and that has joined the organization from about when we did the restructure a few years ago, and I'm old enough and senior enough in the industry that was able to cherry pick the right people to come and join the business, is the same team that is able to take us to $100 million, $200 million business. And it's because of that team that we've seen the organization say, when I joined and that team was assembled, we were about $21 million of revenue. Guidance is $48 to $52 million this year. It's because of that team we've seen the growth. We saw the market cap go up fourfold, come back down. It's about 50% or so higher than when we joined. It's because of that amazing team that we have that in turn has brought cascades down. We've brought the right team in the rest of the organization. We're set and have been set for 3 years to be $100 million plus organization.
And Martin, what's the plan for acquisitions and M&A moving forward?
Yeah, look, it's there as a business, an opportunity. We put there in the slide. We certainly, you cut your cloth, look at acquisitions depending on what your market cap is, and there's no doubt about that. And for us as an organization, we really look at, number one, it absolutely can't be diluted to anything that we're doing as a business. And we focus on what are the key things we want. So it's continue to grow those data points. So does an acquisition give us a step change in a new market? Does an acquisition give us any more positive EBITDA and any clients and people that we might want? But it's certainly, when I look at us as a business, number one is growing outside in that UK and US market, and that's growing particularly with our audience builder product. Many of the listeners will be familiar with that, and that's where we've been incredibly successful in the US. It's one of our SaaS products in partnerships with companies like Flybuys, Asian Parent in Asia, and that's the secret sauce that gives us that step change in growth in those markets. I don't have to do acquisitions.
And Martin, just quickly to finish, what are some of the practical things you're doing to, drive the expansion of your data and insights business into international markets like the US?
Yeah, number one is hiring the right people. So if I look at the UK, it's hiring recognized industry leaders, salespeople, commercial people, that in turn bring awareness, bring clients with them. Our growth comes from having the data points, and the easiest way for us to grow those data points is, as I said, Audience Builder as a product. It's a SaaS solution. We've got about 6 or so partnerships in Australia, a couple in Asia, AA Smart Fuel in New Zealand we work with. It's really, I've got a team that's focused on rolling Audience Builder out in the UK and the US. It takes quite a long time. A significant partner could have discussions for sort of a year or 18 months with. We've been having those discussions for a year or 18 months so far. So that will be the secret sauce that we see growing out. And if I take the US for a second, Tim, there are a lot of organizations, international ones, who have tried to grow in the US. It's a busy market, it's a big market, big opportunity. You need to make sure you have a niche, you have a specific offering. You don't just open with a generic product, and that's what we're looking to do. It'll be a niche offering like we've done in Asia, with the Asian parent being the specialist of parents with children and pregnant families. So we will do something similar, most probably not that niche, but in the US, and that's what we will be famous for.